There's a mistake many people make after a profound experience of expanded consciousness. They believe they awakened. They believe they found a final answer. They believe something inside them changed forever. But there is a question that almost nobody asks. And perhaps this is the most important question of the entire journey. What happens when the experience ends? Because it is easy to feel connected when everything seems clear. It is easy to believe we have transformed when we experience a deep perception about life, about ourselves, and about existence itself. But the real test begins when we return to ordinary life, when we wake up the next morning, when we face the same challenges, the same people, the same thoughts, the same emotions that were always there. And this is where we discover something essential. An experience can open a door, but walking through that door is a choice that must be made every single day. Throughout history, many seekers have walked the path of self-discovery, trying to understand what exists beyond personality, beyond conditioning, and beyond the stories we create about who we are. They searched for a deeper perception of consciousness, and different tools appeared as ways of exploring the inner world. Among them, ayahuasca holds a very unique place, not because it gives a final truth, not because it replaces inner work, but because it can create a powerful encounter with aspects of consciousness that are usually ignored. It can provoke questions, it can reveal patterns, it can create moments of deep self-observation, it can make someone look at their own existence from an entirely different perspective. But there is something that needs to be understood. Seeing something does not mean you have changed. Feeling something does not mean you have integrated it. A person can experience something extraordinary and still be controlled by the same fears. They can recognize a truth and still run away from it. They can feel a deep connection and still remain trapped in the same automatic reactions. Because consciousness is not what happens in a single moment. Consciousness is what remains when the moment is gone. And perhaps this is one of the greatest challenges on the spiritual path. Many people search for a higher experience without realizing that the real work begins when the experience ends. The experience reveals possibilities. Life reveals whether those possibilities were truly integrated. There is a huge difference between touching a realization and becoming someone who can live that realization. It is like receiving a rare seed. The moment that seed reaches your hands, it contains an entire possibility. A tree that has not yet appeared. A forest that has not yet been born. But nobody plants a seed and expects a tree to appear instantly. It needs time. It needs care. It needs a process that happens beneath the surface before anything becomes visible. And perhaps consciousness works the same way. An experience can plant a new perception inside us, but that perception needs to be cultivated. Because many people want the result of awakening, but they do not want the process that awakening requires. They want wisdom, but they do not want to release old patterns. They want freedom, but they continue feeding the same fears. They want a new reality, but they continue protecting an old identity. And this is where one of the greatest traps of the inner journey appears, the spiritual ego. This is a subtle trap because it does not appear as something negative. It appears as something elevated. A person begins identifying with their own spiritual search, with what they learned, with what they experienced. They start believing they are more conscious than others, that they understand something most people cannot see, that they reached a different level. But perhaps this is only another form of separation. Because the ego does not disappear simply because we have a spiritual experience. It can change its appearance. It can abandon old forms of control and return in a more subtle way. Before, it says, I am better because I have more. Then it says, I am better because I awakened. And perhaps this is one of the greatest tests. To realize that true consciousness does not create superiority. It creates humility. It creates presence. It creates the ability to look at yourself honestly. Because the more someone truly awakens, the less they need to prove that they are awake. They simply begin to live differently. Transformation appears in small moments. In the way you react when someone disagrees with you, in the way you handle frustration, in the ability to admit a mistake, in the choice between repeating an old pattern or responding consciously. Because awakening is not measured by what happens during extraordinary moments, it is measured by what happens during ordinary ones. It is in daily life that consciousness stops being an idea and becomes reality. There is something fascinating about moments of expanded awareness. During a profound experience, many people describe feeling a clarity that is difficult to explain. For a brief moment, things that seemed confusing appear to organize themselves. Old questions seem to find new possibilities. The perception of life changes. And perhaps this is exactly why the return can be so challenging. Because there is a difference between what was perceived and what still needs to be transformed. You return to the same environment, the same responsibilities, the same challenges, but now there is a difference. You saw a possibility. You recognized something you did not recognize before. And when someone sees a new possibility, a new responsibility is born, because after seeing, it becomes harder to pretend you never saw. This is one of the deepest parts of the inner journey. Consciousness does not grow only when we receive new information. It grows when we stop ignoring what we already know. Sometimes the greatest transformation is not discovering something completely new. It is finally facing something that has always been asking for your attention. A fear you avoided, a behavior you repeated without questioning, an emotion you buried for years, a part of yourself you tried to leave behind. The inner journey is not an escape to somewhere far away. It is a return to forgotten parts of yourself. And perhaps this is why some people feel uncomfortable after a profound experience, not because something went wrong, but because what was once ignored is now asking to be integrated. The old way of living starts to feel too small, but the new version of yourself is still being created, and that space can be uncomfortable. It is like standing between two versions of yourself. The person you were no longer feels complete, but the person you are becoming has not fully emerged yet. This space requires patience, it requires presence, it requires maturity, because many people try to escape this moment by immediately searching for another experience, another revelation, another moment of expansion. But perhaps they are searching outside for something that needs to be developed within, because there is a difference between opening a door and walking a path. The door can appear in an instant. The path requires a journey, and every real journey requires discipline. Not a discipline based on rigidity, but a discipline based on commitment to yourself. The daily choice to observe, the daily choice to understand, the daily choice not to return automatically to old patterns. Because the greatest sign of transformation is not talking about consciousness, it is responding to life differently. And perhaps this is why some people go through profound experiences and later feel like they lost something. But maybe nothing was lost. Maybe what happened simply stopped being an experience and became a responsibility. Because a vision is not meant to be admired. It is meant to transform the way we live. A deep realization is not meant to create a new identity. It is meant to dissolve old limitations. It is not meant to make someone feel superior. It is meant to make someone more aware, and perhaps this is the hardest truth to accept. Awakening does not remove us from being human. It brings us closer to understanding what it means to be human, with more clarity, with more responsibility, with more presence. Because once we begin seeing our own patterns, we can no longer wait for change to come from outside. We must participate in our own transformation. We must observe our thoughts, understand our emotions, choose new responses. This is when the path stops being only spiritual and becomes a daily practice. And perhaps this is what separates a temporary experience from a true transformation. An experience happens to you, but transformation happens through you. Ayahuasca can be a tool for reflection. It can open new perspectives. It can reveal questions you never thought to ask. But no tool can walk the path for you. No teacher can live your transformation for you. No experience can replace your own choice. The journey begins when we stop searching only for something that will transform us and begin becoming responsible for what has awakened within us. If these words created a reflection inside you, perhaps this is part of your own inner journey. Here at Inner Multiverse, we explore consciousness, self-discovery, and the deeper transformations that happen when we begin looking beyond the surface. Subscribe to the channel and continue this journey with us, because some questions do not appear to receive quick answers. They appear to transform the way we see ourselves. Perhaps true awakening is not finding something new. Perhaps it is finally learning how to live what was always trying to emerge within us. The experience can end, the vision can disappear, the moment can pass, but what has truly been integrated remains. And perhaps this is the greatest realization. Awakening is not the end of the search. It is the beginning of a new way of existing.